for collaboration with groups such as the International Rescue Committee, South Wellness Medical Care, St. Vincent de Paul, Save the Children, Refugee Aid, LDS Charities, Monte Vista Baptist Church, and many, many others. Since opening, we've hosted over 10,000 people, over 6,000 since February 2021, over 300 people just this past weekend who otherwise would have been dropped off on the streets of Phoenix. We all remember the situation in 2018, 2019 with families being dropped off at random hours on the streets around the Greyhound station. The Welcome Centers helped to address this completely on private funds, and is one of the only centers along the southern border of the United States that operates without any local public funding from the city, county, or state. Investing in the center during these exceptional times to absorb some of the COVID impact costs seems like a highly appropriate use of the city's available ARPA funds. Thank you for your consideration.
Our next speaker is Craig Tripkin. Craig, are you on the line? Craig, are you on the line?
And I think Craig did mention ARPA in his comments on agenda item 1. So my sense is he would like us to invest in us fighting homelessness. Councilwoman, or I think that concludes our public comment.
Yes, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Councilman Ansari, followed by the Vice Mayor.
Thank you so much. Just wanted to also thank Jeff and all of the staff for all of the work that's gone into this. It's really exciting to see how it shifted and gotten so much more detailed this time around. I just have a couple of comments, one question on a variety of issues. Firstly, with the micro and small business assistance, I just really wanted to thank you all for taking on the feedback of making sure that businesses along the light rail expansion receive a bit more funding. So it's good to see that's 50% higher. Our team did get to go down to the South Central extension line with Mario Peniagua, got his name right this time, and Marcus Coleman and the entire team with Valley Metro. And we actually we went to a couple of small businesses and heard a lot of really positive feedback about the programs that you all did last year, including Feed Phoenix. So they're all really looking forward to more of these, more of this support, and just reiterated over and over how helpful the city was. So obviously great work, and I'm glad that we can continue to support them further. On the bus card subsidy program, I guess here I have a question. Obviously in the discussion around the budget, you know that I'm very much supportive of free public transportation, and I think we've heard a significant amount of calls from the community around that. So I'm just wondering, the 1 million, how long you think that'll last us approximately? Is that a couple of months? Is that a year? Is that not even close to any of that? I just want to get a sense of where that will get us.
Councilwoman Ansari, Mayor, members of the council, that's actually a very good question. We actually have not really sat down to put pen to pad. And a lot of that is really going to be dependent on how you would like to craft the program. So a lot of what we've presented to you today are really the framework of programs. The details behind those programs has yet to be created, and that's where we need your information, your input. So again, it really depends on what you want to do in terms of, do you want to do full subsidy? Do you want to try and buy bus cards for folks, you know, on an intermittent basis? Or do you want to identify a population of people that need ongoing monthly support for bus program? So again, that's your feedback, that's your direction. And again, this is not an etched in stone program. This is a very flexible and fluid program. The intent is to get your feedback to make this suit your needs as well as the needs of the community.
Okay, great. No, that's really good to know. And I will take the mayor's advice and give you written ideas. We've done a lot of research on where that could get us and just the benefits in terms of ridership. So we'll make sure to get that to you. On the topic of transit, I know that ARPA also allows for investments in green infrastructure, such as green streets. That's another very specific initiative, but I know there's some proposals that have come forward, not only in my district, but throughout the city, to incorporate the stormwater management approach. So I'll send that to you in writing as well, but just another piece that I think is not currently in our proposal for ARPA that I think would be good. When it comes to better health outcomes and community testing, I know there's the 2 million or several million allocated there. I just want to reemphasize how much I think door-to-door efforts are important when it comes to those zip codes that don't have a lot of people vaccinated. We did it in just like a very tiny sense of just knocking doors for a couple days, and I know District 5 and others have been doing this as well. And I think it makes a really big difference. So if we were to be able to make significant investment, and by that it could really be just a couple $100,000 of the few million, I think we can really make a dent in that. So we can send that to you as well. I'm really happy that the gentleman from the IRC called in. I had the opportunity to go tour the Welcome Center last week. And I think that that's one piece that was originally in there, or some sort of support for refugees was in there. And I think support for our refugee community and nonprofits that support them is critical, especially as we're going to start to see asylum seekers and refugee numbers increase with the new administration. And I know that the number that they're asking for, I believe, is only about $250,000. So if we could put that in there, I would strongly advocate for that. And then finally, on the issue of tuition assistance, really excited to see that in there as well. I think we have an opportunity to assist students who might be in a gray area or a limbo when it comes to financial assistance for higher education. Last time I talked about this program in Mesa with 2 years of free resident tuition. And I think with our strong network of community colleges in Phoenix, we could do the same. My only ask is that we maybe focus more on direct cash assistance to students and not just the technical assistance, but happy to work with you more on that as well. But thank you so much. I'll make sure that we send this all to you, and looking forward to fleshing it out further. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just going back to, I think Councilwoman Guardado talked about what the Treasury released, and they said the relief money is meant to build a strong, equitable economic recovery, and it goes on to say, and it's defined as addressing the systematic public health and economic challenges that may have contributed to more severe impacts of the pandemic among low-income communities and people of color. I think this breakdown is getting us closer, and I know, Jeff, you stated we're still at the 30,000 foot level, but as we start getting down to the level of deciding the funds and what programs are going to get what, I think it's important for us to kind of focus on that intention from the federal government. The current breakdown, I don't feel is a fair distribution of resources from community. I don't think it does put people first in the ways that some of us stated last time, and I want to reiterate today. To me, I know there's some funds that are kind of intertwined, but it looks more like 40% of it is intended to be invested in the city operations and infrastructure. For example, where we have youth sports and recreation, there's a big allocation for HVAC or fixing some of our libraries. I agree that might be a need, but I don't think we can consider that direct contribution to community. It still, to me, looks like infrastructure. I think there are asks. I'm glad the rental cost center is not on here anymore, but I think with the convention center and the recycling facility, we're being asked to replace revenue. I think these are allowed uses with the goal of keeping our budget intact and looking forward to it. But it does seem a little bit more, like I think I said it last time, it's more of our issue or the city's issue. And I would want to see other options of ways that we can get funding for that don't mean literally taking from those that were most impacted by COVID. So I would want us to look at some alternatives. Maybe some of these funds are freeing up funds in other places, or there's other opportunities we have coming up, shifts that are happening where we might get more revenue to look to make that happen. I think this moment doesn't call for business as usual. It actually calls for us to try to find bold ideas, to try to figure out direct relief to those that were most impacted by this pandemic. and to reduce the red tape. I think one of the things we learned from last time is we, I think at times made it a little bit harder on community than we needed to. So how do we actually, figure out this strong, equitable economic recovery and what it means to us without, kind of limiting ourselves. I do think direct cash to residents that were hit the hardest by the pandemic is an without conditions of how to spend it is something we need to look at. People know how to meet their needs best. We should trust them. The federal government did it 3 times last year, and I think that was successful. And so we should look into what it looks like for our residents at the city level. The rent assistant, utility assistant, all that was great last time. I do think we need to figure out other ways of being more flexible. Last time we kind of went the route of getting landlords their money first. We should use this relief on flexible housing assistance, and figuring out how to get the money to the tenants themselves, and helping them with bills and obviously other things that we didn't think about last time, childcare costs, car repairs, medical debt, pharmaceutical needs, all these sorts of things that folks might have. Mentioned by Councilwoman Ansari, the LRC. I don't see refugees anywhere near here. I know last time we did some work there. I do think the Welcome Center, and because it's one of the communities that has or had a last time around one of the harder times in accessing the funds, I actually think for specific communities like that, we should look to provide advocates within our system that make sure that we're equitably distributing these funds and making sure that those most impacted get these funds. On the shelter and housing site, I really do think we need to look at that and specifically focus on 30 to 50% AMI. Maybe purchasing some hotels similar to what happened with US Vets, but looking at other locations or other places where we could have long-term affordable housing, and maybe putting or looking into how our affordable housing trust fund can receive funds or can kind of manage funds moving forward. The earliest we can see from what happened last year, wherever folks were at with the new shelter development, new shelter beds are probably not going to come for the next couple of years. So I think it's figuring out how we do housing first approach and other creative ways to get affordable housing to the people of Phoenix. I also want to say there's some amazing stories out there. I'm wrapping up, sorry, I'm long-winded. I know we've had a long day. There are a lot of groups out there who are already meeting the needs of those that were disproportionately impacted, and I want to name some of those. And I think we should give to those folks or folks like them or organizations like them. There's folks doing healing circles. There's folks doing basic needs, supporting each other with food boxes and so on. There are nonprofits creating safe space, free community programs for low-income youth. There's Rock Boxing Gym in South Phoenix, Phoenix.gov, even the Girl Scouts, a bunch of these organizations that are already doing great work that I think we could support. Black Family and Child Services is already implementing new behavioral health programming and taking it to where people are at, not necessarily having people come to them. I think even connecting it to the CAP program, one of the things I think I failed to talk about earlier was that we do need just an overall expansion of mental health support and workers across the city. That's one thing that we missed last time in failing both the mental health issues that were already there, but also the ones created by the pandemic. Folks like the Black Mothers Forum is already thinking of innovative ways to close the education gap, more wraparound services, after school programs. Obviously, we talked earlier about the need for the Phoenix after the PAC program, after school care. But there's other folks out there doing after school, summer, weekend school to make sure that youth that were impacted by the pandemic aren't left behind. I do see, it was mentioned earlier, the nonprofits that do have access are the bigger ones, the traditional ones, the ones that already have access to the city. So I really hope we can in areas like arts and culture, I think it's easier for those folks to come to us. We need to expand and make sure we're more accessible to other folks. Last thing I'll say, and I started the day with it, is heat relief. It's not a new problem. I really love when Jeff said we're going to look for a permanent solution, long-term solution. I think that's where we should go. So that I want to applaud and make sure as we're entering the summer and knowing that 520 people lost their lives last year in the valley and that it's only getting hotter, that we should look to do that. And last thing, similar to Councilwoman Ansari, I think instead of continuing to go on longer, we will send some written ideas of the things we think we should focus on. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilwoman Guardado.
And I promise I will make it nice and short. So here on the budget, Jeff or Ed, we on the youth sports, recreation, education, and after school program, under the Phoenix Works, I think it would be a good idea if we added the Palo Verde library at the community center. I think we have a hub on 5470 in Indian School. We have the John F. Long Family Resource Center, and then we have the Phoenix at Work, that are helping people get back on their feet and looking for jobs. And I think it would be really good if at the library people were also able to check out workforce laptops and hotspots. I think this could also help us give a boost to making sure that people can go back to work. So I would like to be able to add that library to this.
Thank you, Councilwoman. We'll work with staff on that.
And Councilwoman, I just wanted to add, you had mentioned the other day the issue about examining PAC programs at schools rather than community centers. And so I did ask our Parks Director and the Deputy City Manager to take a look at that specifically. So we'll have more information on that in June as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think going off of Councilman Guardado's last comment about laptop checkouts, it was exciting to see the State Department of Education and Superintendent Hoffman is willing to partner with us on library laptop checkouts and provided significant financial support. So I think partnerships are important, and I hope as we develop this plan, we will also give priority to where we can work together with other levels of government. As the city manager pointed out, the county has received even more support than we, and if we can work with them on important issues regionally, whether it be stormwater infrastructure or fighting homelessness, that seems very valuable to me. I would love to participate regionally with all cities working together on ARP funds towards fighting homelessness. I think we can do more if we work together countywide. I understand many of the other communities may be interested in joining the work for closing the digital divide. And again, that seems like a very exciting partnership. So the more we can do it together, I think the further we will stretch those dollars. Also agree with Councilwoman Guardado's point about making it easier for our parents at the airport who work at the airport to go back to work, and maybe an investment in childcare facility there. I hope we can invest in our young people and do one-time investments that will continue to pay dividends after this money is spent, whether that be upgrading our Head Start classrooms for our local young people or buying new curriculum so that we can deliver the best possible for those young people and continue the benefits. I generally feel like capital and infrastructure investments will pay dividends for a long time. We can reduce costs right now, but continue the benefits to our community. It's important to me that the city be financially healthy. We do amazing work. My first year as a councilwoman, we were in a deficit and we had to cut, and we just heard how much our community values the work that the city does. Unfortunately, we have still not recovered from some of the cuts we made in 2008 with the first recession. And so we have to keep that in mind and come out of this as a healthier city. So I hope we will continue to consider the financial stability of the city, and we do need to think about state shared revenues may be threatened, although I'm certainly committed to doing my part to protecting what the voters did decades ago. I was impressed with the new guidelines and the emphasis on connectivity and energy efficiency. I agree with Councilwoman Ansari on green streets and was pleased to see that that was in the federal program. I would say high priority to me is getting people vaccinated. I would very much like to see us take those COVID testing vans and turn them into facilities mobile vaccination facilities, so we can go out in the community and make it easy. And the assistant city manager mentioned incentives, and that was not my idea, but it sounded like a good one to just help folks have a little bit of fun or get incented in some way to get vaccinated. That is the light at the end of the tunnel for our community, and the more we can get vaccines to the people who need them, the better. We have huge parts of our city that have not yet been vaccinated. We are not the lead in that area, but we have trusted resources and can be partners with those who are in the lead and have successfully partnered, as some of the events that our council members spoke about at the beginning of this meeting definitely highlighted. I also hope to continue to see investments like the one with US Vets that will pay dividends for many years in our future and really are thinking forward and long term. So thank you, Jeff, for all your hard work on this. Thank you to all the city departments who contributed. Some super cool ideas in there, from workforce to the great hub in Councilwoman Guardado's district. And I'm excited to invest in helping people upskill or get access to their dream job, or get ready for people who've been impacted by COVID to get ready for some of the cool jobs that are coming into our community and really could change lives for the better with that wraparound program. Additional council member comments? Hearing none, I want to thank everyone for their hard work in a long but important meeting today. We are adjourned.
And go a long distance is difficult. So the mobile testing van will be able to go straight to communities like Matthew Henson and set up in the community so that people can have convenient, safe testing where they need it. The van will be out for at least 100 days in the community, and the folks from Vincier Cancer Center will be providing the care, including some results that are available within 15 minutes, which sounds like great news to people in this community who want to know their testing status, who want to know if they have COVID so that they can make the appropriate decisions. One of our greatest tools in fighting the virus is knowledge, knowing who has the virus, and being able to make decisions, including public policy decisions, about what we need to do to fight this virus. It has been a huge challenge in the city of Phoenix, but we have new and innovative tools. Thank you to all of our city employees who have stepped up to make this happen, led by our city manager, Ed Zerker, who is here with us today. And thank you to the team at Vincier Cancer Center, who was willing to innovate, to provide this new service and go out in our community where they are needed.